Right, we are here with Maurice Naftalin at Devoxx Belgium. Maurice, thank you very much for joining us. And can you tell us a little bit about your background? What brings you here today?
What brings me here is a long story, but as you can see from looking at me, I've been in the industry for a very, very long time. I'm going to be the oldest person in every room in developer conferences nowadays.
That's good though. It's nice to see kind of a diversity of attendees.
You always wonder what happens to old developers.
I do. There's people after 50. Where do they go?
I don't know where they go. I mean, they didn't tell me where they go. So
maybe they just can't be bothered to come to conferences. Who knows?
No, you don't meet many of them. They didn't tell me where to go, so I just stayed around. When Java came out, I'd got diverted from software development, and I had a background as a developer and as a manager of developers and as an academic, and I got diverted into safety work at the time that Java came out. And I really wanted to get back into development, and Java looked like a really good opportunity. I didn't much care for the other programming languages that were popular at the time, and so I kind of latched onto that, and it's turned out to be a lucky choice.
Have you consistently worked with Java for the past 2 decades almost then?
I've been there since it's been there, pretty much, yeah.
Really, you must have had quite dramatic change in your career as that's kind of evolved and become the behemoth that it is today.
I think. Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't really grok object-oriented programming until I'd worked with Java, and that was maybe one of the reasons why I hadn't been that keen on programming languages that were current in the 1990s, C++. But I got it with Java, and I did some development, and then I taught it a lot. And teaching something is a really good way of learning about it. Because people ask you questions, you just got to get on top of it. So yeah, that was good. Yeah, and Java changed. Really, it was kind of very straightforward until Java 5, and then when they brought in generics, that was hard enough that I had to write a book about it to understand it properly. That was how I felt, anyway.
So with the kind of Java's kind of merged in the last year, it's become closer to being a united platform again. It's closer to that kind of dream of write once, run everywhere.
Well,
what do you think? What's your perspective on this? Do you think it's returning closer to its original purpose, as was stated in the keynote? You know, the core principles of Java.
I think the core principles of Java are, well, I read them slightly differently. I mean, I was very excited about write once, run everywhere, and I mean, particularly, I liked applets. I mean, that's how old I am.
Wow.
And how sad I am.
That's probably the most controversial thing I've heard at a conference. I liked applets.
I did like them, and they were a very good idea. I mean, nowadays, I think there's kind of, if they'd been allowed to take the proper course, they would be dying out now, along with, say, for example, Flash, because the same basic idea was that they would run in a virtual machine in the browser. But they should have lasted as long as Flash lasted. That is another 20 years, and they died because of stupid arguments and stupid industry disagreements. But fundamentally, they were a good idea, and we've never really had Java on the client in the way that it was intended. I mean, since applets died around about 1999. It's a long time ago, so I don't really see a core principle of Java really being that write once, run anywhere thing any longer.
And kind of moving forward to Java in 2014, as an academic, obviously still expert on Java, and you're putting together a book about Java 8 Lambdas.
It's put together.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I should have brought a copy along and held it up. Mastering Lambdas, it's called, published by Oracle Press.
We'll put a link below.
Right. It's a really quite a thin book.
So that's good. So it won't take much time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can master a Lambda in the time it takes to.
It turns out to be maybe slightly more complicated than you would expect.
What do you think are the most difficult things about Lambda? Do you think it's kind of that cognitive leap to going to?
I don't think Lambdas are very difficult at all, actually. I mean, there's some kind of corner cases, and the syntax takes a little while to get your head around it, but it's really applying it. I mean, the book is about both Lambdas and about the Stream API. And the Stream API, that's the library support that's been enabled by Lambdas, and it's really has turned towards functional programming. And actually, what I've seen is that both in 2005 and 2006, when generics came in, and now with streams and Lambdas, I see Java learning more and more from the functional programming world. I mean, this is a turn effectively towards functional programming, so I guess it's not really Java's original core principles. But I think we've got nothing. I think we've got nothing to lose and everything to gain by making that turn. But for most Java programmers brought up in an imperative programming tradition, functional programming is kind of hard to get your head around, and I think people will have trouble with the streams. It took me some time, even with something of a functional programming background. It took me a while to really get what they were going with.
Yeah, and I suppose a lot of people, probably the majority of developers, I know we've done some polls around the conference today, still working in Java 6, Java 7, kind of people, might not have had to kind of introduce themselves to Lambdas yet, but do you think it's very important that people kind of train themselves now as opposed to waiting?
No, they should. Well, I guess they should train themselves because they're going to. They'll need to read my book to do that. But actually, they should let me train them because I'm going to write this course for
Parlays.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be training
themselves. So watch this space. But they need to be preparing for Lambdas. Everyone should be getting ready. Do you think it's so fundamental for Java developers now?
I think the big deal is going to be that programming with collections is just going to streams are going to replace collections. Stream processing is certainly going to replace collection processing in a lot of places. The big advert for collections was that they enabled you to go for streams was the fact that they enable you painlessly to go parallel, but I think that the superiority of the functional style that streams enables will mean that you'll want to program with streams in lots of places where you were using collections before. There's plenty of examples of
so it will kind of become a new habit.
Yes, it's better habits. You get better code. You get code that's much easier to read. You get code that's much more direct. It much more reflects the problem statement, the statement of the problem you want to solve. And you get better APIs out of it, so the libraries are going to get better. I think it's an irreversible turn. Yeah. So
kind of looking ahead, there's been some talk. I know Brian Goetz has done some sessions on the future of Java. What's your perspective on that? What are you kind of hoping for or looking ahead to?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of sold on the idea of value types. So I kind of follow along behind Brian, and I drink the Kool-Aid that he's pouring out.
Well, it's a very popular Kool-Aid.
All the time. Yeah, that's right. But and that's partly because I've been spending too much time lately mixing with people who care a lot about performance. So I've come to care about performance. And I've always had the attitude in the past, which is kind of Brian's attitude a lot of the time, is you almost certainly shouldn't be caring about performance. Because for most people, most of the time, performance isn't important. But it really hurts. It's very painful to see that a lot of the code that we write runs so directly counter to what machines want to do. We used to have machines. I mean, in my young day, I thought I understood computers. Well, I did understand them then because they were an awful lot simpler. Now they've become a lot more complicated. And it turns out the stuff that we were writing for them 20 years ago, which fitted with the architecture that we had now really runs across the grain. And it means that we're actually working against the architecture. And that's kind of a painful thing to do. It would be yeah. It's sort of like driving everywhere in first gear. You feel like that's the feeling.
It's all right back in 1920, but
well, yeah, because cars didn't have so many gears then, or something like that. But nowadays, cars have got a lot of gears in terms of computers, and we're driving down the motorway in first gear. We're really not getting the best out of the machine that we've got, and that's going to get worse, not better. And so I feel like there's the very popular blog written by Martin Thompson, who understands an awful lot of these issues, called Mechanical Sympathy, and I just like that name very much. It's about kind of getting in tune with the machine. So I feel like value types is definitely a step in that direction. I'm not sure what it is that developers are really demanding in terms of improvements to the language. They did demand Lambdas because like everybody else had them, and because they do improve the code so much. I'm not really sure what the next big thing is.
I mean, modularity is probably not such a big thing as people initially thought.
I don't know that.
I mean, obviously for some people it's going to be very important.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they want the gains that modularity will bring, but nobody's going to get really excited, I don't think, over the fact. I mean, people will get excited about having a much leaner platform. they're definitely going to be excited about shorter startup times and shorter download times. But they don't get excited about that in the way that developers really get excited about something like Lambdas, streams, because that feels so different to them.
Yeah.
I think it may be more like stepwise improvements for a while at least, until the next big thing comes along.
But
stepwise improvements are no bad
it's
thing.
important. That's why people like Java. It's not about the drama. It's about it being reliable, and it's about it working.
Absolutely. And I mean, and certainly something that we're always really conscious of is if the language, even if the language is a lot of fun to write, in the end, if it performs badly, if code written in the language performs badly, it won't survive. It won't survive. If we want to carry on writing in a language that we really like, we better make sure that we're producing results that our customers actually appreciate.
Yeah.
So it's not just for us, but for our benefit.
Well, thanks, it's been a pleasure to chat to you, Maurice.
No, thank you very much. Yeah,
Can't wait to see
I enjoyed it too.
Thank you.
Right.